Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Tru Crym Podcast, where we focus mostly on San Diego cases. I am Ranete.
And I'm Erina, and today I will be speaking about the case of Danielle Van Dam. So Danielle was born on September 22nd, 1994. She was actually born in Texas, Plano, Texas, but then shortly after, the family moved to Sabre Springs in Poway.
Okay.
So Danielle was a middle child. She had two other brothers. Her mother, Brenda, she was a stay-at-home mom. She took care of the kids in the home. And the father, Damon, he worked as an engineer at Qualcomm.
Okay.
She went to Creekside Elementary School, where she was in a combined first and second grade class at the age of 7. She was described as a kind, sweet, quiet girl who laughed a lot. She was strong-headed but well-behaved, and she was loved by everyone. She really loved coloring. She liked playing with dolls, writing, and drawing in her journal, and she was just beginning to take up piano.
Oh.
She was also a brownie in the Girl Scouts, and she sold cookies in her neighborhood every year, including a neighbor named David Westerfield, who lived 2 houses away. Friday evening, February 1st of 2002, Danielle's mother, Brenda, and 2 of her girlfriends went out to a bar called Dad's in Poway.
Dad's.
Yeah. Danielle's father, he stayed at home with the 3 kids. Danielle was put to bed at around 10:30 p.m. She went to sleep with the other 2 kids. Brenda, the mom, she came home at around 2 a.m. with 4 other friends. They chatted a bit with Damon, the dad, for a little while, and then the 4 friends left. Brenda did notice that a light in the home security alarm system had been flashing, but the alarm didn't go off. And she did see that the side door of the garage was propped a little bit open, but she didn't think anything of it. She went to close the door and she just disabled the alarm. Damon and Brenda, they went to sleep believing that all 3 kids were asleep in their rooms and everything was fine. About an hour later, it was about maybe 3 a.m., Damon woke up and noticed that the alarm light again was flashing. This time he was the one who noticed. He found out that the sliding glass door leading to the backyard was open.
Oh, no.
He closed it and then went back to bed, not checking on the kids,
Darn
unfortunately. Yeah. The next morning, they noticed that Danielle was missing. Her parents called the police at 9:39 in the morning. Hundreds of volunteers searched the deserts, highways, and remote areas for weeks and weeks, but they couldn't find anything of Danielle.
That's the whole purpose of having home alarm systems.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I don't think the alarm itself went off because I think the light flashing was maybe only connected to like the side doors or the windows.
But that's like a notification to let you know something happened, though, right?
Yeah, that's what the parents later on they actually talk about that they really, really regretted not checking up on that sooner. The fact that it was just really late, they were tired, they were chatting with friends, they kind of just didn't think more of it.
Too,
yeah, and they thought maybe, the side door was just left open, cracked open, like close it and go back to bed. On February 27, 2002, 2 volunteer searchers found Danielle's body. She was nude, partially decomposed near a trail in Dehesa, California, which is just the east part, which is like deserted area. Because of the condition of her body, the coroners were unable to determine the actual cause of death or whether she was sexually assaulted. They actually had to use dental records to confirm her identity.
Oh, man.
But I mean, being found without clothing, you can assume. So let's talk about this neighbor, David Westerfield. Westerfield was born on February 25th, 1952. He was 49 years old at the time when Danielle disappeared. He was self-employed as an engineer, and he had several patents for medical devices. And then he was trying to start up some businesses. He graduated from James Madison High School, and he was a divorced father of 2 grown college students.
Okay.
He lived 2 houses away from the Van Dams. He also owned a luxury motorhome that he had parked out in his front yard. He had no criminal record at the time, so he wasn't a suspect quite yet. But Danielle's parents did say that about 3 days before Danielle's disappearance, Danielle and her mother Brenda had sold Girl Scout cookies to Westerfield, and who he also invited them into his home. They were actually pretty friendly, and he knew the whole family. They knew him. When police interviewed Westerfield, he stated that he did not know where Danielle was, but that he had been at the same bar that Brenda had been in that Friday night. They asked Brenda and she confirmed. She said that she did see him there and they chatted for a bit, but then he left before she did.
Okay.
Saturday morning, the next morning, Westerfield fetched his motorhome from another part of town. He said that he stocked it with supplies, left home at around 9:50 a.m., minutes after Brenda called 911 to report Danielle missing. Westerfield told police that he had driven around the desert and the beach in his motorhome and that he stayed at the beach campground. This was later confirmed by witnesses. It was also confirmed by cell phone records, gas receipts, and credit card records. So it seemed like he had his alibi and he was being covered pretty well.
Okay.
Westerfield said that he intended to go to the desert but realized he had forgotten his wallet at home. So he went to the campground at Silver Strand State Beach. He had paid in advance for a 2-night stay, but he said that the weather was too cold, so he returned home to fetch his wallet, after which he went back to the desert. A witness, though, at the Silver Strand State Beach said that he saw Westerfield pull out his wallet at the campground and had spoken to him. So,
and then if he says it's too cold, I mean, he has a motorhome, which has blankets.
And why was he going like back and forth to the desert, and then the excuse to go back to the house to fetch his quote-unquote wallet that the witness said he already had?
Yeah.
And he stated that he drove to the desert where his motorhome got stuck in the sand, and that was about a quarter mile off the road, and he needed help to get a tow truck to get free. The next morning, Westerfield stopped at a dry cleaner's and dropped off 2 comforters, 2 pillow covers, and a jacket that would later show traces of Danielle's blood. Westerfield said that he had given his RV a cleaning when he returned from his trip, but that's a normal thing for him to do since he just came back from the desert.
Okay.
Because that was why the police were asking why was his RV so clean. February 4th, law enforcement placed Westerfield under 24-hour surveillance.
So, but if they found her blood on the comforter, why couldn't they arrest him then and there?
No, that was something that they later found out.
Okay.
For the moment, they just had him under 24-hour surveillance.
Okay.
Then the next day, on February 5th, his motorhome, SUV, and other property, they were impounded for testing. And that's when they were able to find the traces of blood from the dry cleaners. February 22nd, 5 days before Danielle's body was found, police arrested Westerfield for Danielle's kidnapping after 2 small stains of her blood were also found on his clothing in his motorhome. Westerfield pleaded not guilty and went on trial on June 4th, 2002. In pretrial motions, Westfield's lawyers moved to have his statements to police excluded, charging that he was unfairly interrogated for more than 9 hours by detectives who ignored his repeated requests to call a lawyer, take a shower, eat, and sleep. This guy kidnapped, raped, and murdered a little girl, and he's like, I need to take a shower.
How do you plead not guilty if her blood is inside your motorhome?
Yeah. The forensic evidence presented by the prosecution included Danielle's blood stains on Westerfield's jacket on the floor of his motorhome, Danielle's fingerprints in the motorhome, hairs from the Van Dam family dog on Westerfield's bed comforter, Danielle's hair on the sheets of his bed, and matching acrylic fibers found on Danielle's body and in Westerfield's home, among other evidence.
Oh, man.
So when I saw that her dog's hair was inside his motorhome, I was wondering how that happened. Apparently, Danielle was cuddling with her dog the night that she was kidnapped.
Oh, my gosh.
I know, sweet little thing.
Yes.
During the trial, Westerfield's lawyer suggested that the police were in a rush to solve the case and declined to consider other suspects.
How is there other suspects? There's so much of her DNA throughout the motorhome.
And his alibi wasn't matching up. His story was going back and forth. They also found child pornography on Westerfield's computer. His lawyers actually suggested that Westerfield's son, Neil, who was 18 at the time, was the one who was downloading pornography. They blamed his son.
That is how slimy you are, that you have to pin it on your own son.
Or the fact that Westerfield agreed to that, too. Pin it on my son. I don't care.
Cold.
In testimony later on, Neil denied all this, of course. Part of Westerfield's defense focused on the lifestyle of Danielle's parents, who they argued had an open marriage, were swingers, and smoked marijuana in their garage regularly.
So what?
Like, okay.
Maybe he's jealous that they have like this,
Nice, perfect family. Or not perfect, but
perfect, that they have an open marriage. Maybe he wishes he can be part of that. I don't
we saw
know.
a photo of him. He looks like a thumb with hair. It's really... He's so gross looking. You're going to Google
him. Definitely a thumb with hair.
The defense suggested that because of his lifestyle, there may have been other people at the home that night. So they always had like friends over. And that night that she was kidnapped, they did have friends over. So they were trying to blame it on that a friend probably did this and left the door open or...
Yeah, but how was her blood and the dog's hair and everything in the motorhome? It doesn't make sense.
Former San Diego County District Attorney Paul Fixt stated that the parents of Danielle Van Dam were put under a microscope with the intensity turned up very high. And then the media found out that there was, outside the marriage by consent, sort of an open marriage type of thing. And that put gasoline on the media fire. They were trying to pin it on the parents. In closing arguments, Westerfield's lawyer argued that no evidence of Westerfield was found in the Van Dam home or at the body dump site, and that a foreign hair found under Danielle's body was not his. In rebuttal, the prosecutor argued that it is possible for an intruder to enter a home without leaving trace of evidence, especially if they were taking precautions and knew what they were doing.
Yes.
The trial lasted a total of 2 months. During the trial, Westerfield's 19-year-old niece testified that when she was 7 years old, her uncle entered his daughter's bedroom where the niece was spending the night with her parents while they were attending a party, woke up to find Westerfield rubbing her teeth.
Her teeth?
Yeah. She said that she bit his finger as hard as she could, then went downstairs to tell her mother.
Oh my gosh.
Westerfield was questioned about the incident at the time by his sister-in-law, where he explained that he had entered the bedroom to check in on the children and was trying to comfort her, but that the incident was then forgotten by the family until this came up.
Comfort her when she's sleeping by rubbing her
teeth. I didn't understand that.
So weird. But good for her for going straight down to tell her mom, because some people are scared.
Yeah, biting him and running downstairs.
Good for her.
August 21st of 2002, the jury found Westerfield guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and possession of child pornography.
Good.
But there was no charge of sexual assault because of her body was so decomposed. They couldn't do like a rape kit.
Yeah. Right. But if she was found naked and like some of her stuff was on his sheets in the bed in the motorhome, I'm sure he did something.
Yeah. And it wasn't like animals ripped her clothes off because there was no traces of her clothes anywhere, only in his motorhome. In January 2003, Judge William Mudd sentenced Westerfield to death. But because of the July 2014 ruling of the unconstitutionality of the death penalty in California, it is not known when or if Westerfield will face execution. So he was sentenced to death. He was sitting on death row. But in 2014, when the laws had changed, now it's not sure if he will face the death penalty or not.
But I kind of like the idea of him sitting and
rotting
rotting
in jail. We all know people who hurt children do not do well in jail.
Right.
The Van Dams sued Westerfield, but the case was settled out of court. They were awarded $416,000 from several insurance companies who insured Westerfield's home, SUV, and motorhome. The settlement also prevented Westfield from ever profiting off of his crime.
Okay, good.
Yeah. The overpass on Interstate 8 at 2nd Street in El Cajon has been named the Danielle Van Dam Memorial Overpass, and it is near where her body was found.
Oh, okay.
Which I had no idea that was a memorial for her. That's the exit I would take all the time to get to my friend's home. So that's kind of crazy. I would take that exit almost every weekend.
And not have any idea as to why.
I didn't know who Danielle Van Dam was. Paula Call, who was the mother of Danielle's friend Sarah, said, quote, "It was always a joy to have Danielle come over to your home. She was really a well-rounded little girl. She sometimes liked to explore complex topics for a 7-year-old, like how she could change the world for good."
Oh my gosh, that is so sweet.
Danielle's father stated, quote, "With today's confirmation that our beloved Danielle will never again be physically present in our lives, we are experiencing the depths of sadness, loss, and grief which only parents who have lost children under similar circumstances can fully comprehend. Danielle was a very special, beautiful, loving girl. We miss her desperately, but find comfort in knowing that she is now safe again and at peace. So Danielle's family, they still live in Southern California. They formed a foundation called the Danielle Legacy Foundation, which works to promote volunteerism that will initiate positive changes that will put our children to safety first.
That's great. So right now, what prison is he in right now?
Oh, Westerfield is currently incarcerated at the San Quentin State Prison.
Oh, okay. A lot of them are at that one.
Yeah, that's a popular one for sure. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed. And next time, Ranete will also be doing a case.
Yes, and so I will be doing the next episode and talk about a local San Diego case. We appreciate each and every one of you who listened to us, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.